Liss. The name of the program is The Way to Go. I invite you to join me as we explore places to go and things to do. One of the really nice things about doing this program is I get to discover things I never would have known about before. And what I've discovered is a place to go to see exhibits in Soho, and it's called the Anne Frank Center. And I'm delighted and honored to have today as my guest the chairman of the Anne Frank Center, Leo Ullman. And it's really wonderful for you to come up here and talk with us and tell us about something that I'm really discovering something new about. So let's start. Everybody knows the name of Anne Frank, but why is Anne Frank so important for people to know about?
I think Anne Frank is important because she was a young and wonderful person who suffered the ultimate horror of discrimination and prejudice and injustice and violence only because she was born Jewish. She led a very happy, wonderful life. She had a wonderful family, and all of them ultimately died only because they were Jewish. And the fact is that she wrote about this, was able to write about this with a wonderful piece of literature, her diary, which appeals to so many young people around the world that it's a fairly easy introduction to the very important and critical subjects of intolerance and prejudice.
You mentioned young children. Is the major thrust of your efforts to children?
It really is. We have some traveling exhibits, and we have an exhibit center, which you mentioned, all of which are geared to telling the story and the message of Anne Frank. This has now been something that we've been able to introduce to 3 million Americans in various communities, and I would say 3/4 of the people that we have touched, and touched importantly, have been young people.
We're going to get into a bit about what the exhibit consists of, but let's get back to the basic Anne Frank story. Is this an arrangement where you are the exclusive U.S. organization? How does that work?
Well, I think there are other organizations involved with Holocaust stories, but we have a special tie to the Anne Frank House in Holland. We were originally set up some 20 years ago as an affiliate, in effect, of the Dutch House. We are now an independent, qualified charitable organization, and we still have ties, very close ties to the Dutch House, pursuant to which we are the only people with the rights to the educational use of all the products that are produced by the Anne Frank House in Holland.
Now the Anne Frank story, just to go, first of all, there's, of course, the book, the Anne Frank book, which certainly is known. And what about this book? What is it?
It's a wonderful piece of literature. The version that you are holding in your hand was released late last year by Doubleday. It's a new translation and an expanded version. It's called the Definitive Edition, and it has probably about 30% more text than the original Anne Frank diary, which was edited in effect by her father, Otto Frank. And this particular version contains items about sexuality, about her mother, which apparently her father did not want to have published. But they're very real and very personal.
I think it's interesting that you have taken the cover of that book, and here is, you brought along a reader's companion to it. What does this consist of?
It's a study guide that was prepared for this definitive edition.
Do you use it in your work?
It's really primarily intended for teachers and for docents who are involved in trying to teach the story of Anne Frank, to give them a number of questions and approaches to studying the diary.
Now, you talk about the teachers and docents. You have a very extensive program of education working with teachers, don't you?
Yes.
And how does that work? What do you...
Well, it really takes place in several different areas. When our exhibit travels, we really are involved in community-based education. Our exhibit will go to a community in a community center of some sort, often a church, often a library, and our essential effort is during the month that exhibit is on display to involve teachers, schools, religious schools in teaching the story of Anne Frank. And it involves many events. It'll show perhaps the movies or videos that are associated with it. It involves various other and related readings, such as the readings of Miep Gies and others who've written about Anne. But the intent really is to involve the community with a total educational effort. It's not just leaving an exhibit there.
I have been to the Anne Frank house, and it's quite an experience. When you climb through into that hidden room and see the material on the wall, you really can project yourself into that. She was a hidden child, and so were you.
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit. What happened? You were born in...
Well, I was born in Holland in 1939, so I was just a young child when the war broke out. And my story really isn't comparable in any respect to that of Anne. My story is that I was hidden by some wonderful people in the Dutch Reformed Church and placed through most of the war with a policeman and his family and passed off as their grandchild. And I really did not suffer during the war and was never taken away. My parents went into hiding in the meantime, much like Anne Frank in an attic, except that the essential difference was that nobody knew where my parents were except the Dutch Reformed Church intermediary. And even the people who lived immediately below them, and they lived on a third story above the people who originally took them, did not know where they were. So the difference with Anne is enormous in that respect.
You talk about the thrust of the Anne Frank Center, and that is to fight what? Discrimination?
Discrimination, prejudice, intolerance, racism, anti-Semitism, bias-related violence.
Some of the things that you've done, you mentioned the woman who sheltered her.
Yes.
And she's written a book?
Yes, it's Miep Gies.
She was at this expansion that you had in Soho, didn't you?
On June 12th, which is Anne's birthday. On the 67th anniversary of that, we opened this expanded exhibit center, which you had mentioned, in New York, and Miep Gies was there. Miep is a wonderful lady who is now, I believe, 87 years old, still very vital and very active, and spends a great deal of time promoting and telling the story of Anne. And she's the woman who was a helper in Otto Frank's company, who ultimately found the diary and who helped the family survive as long as they did by bringing them food and news and just taking care of them.
Mia Farrow was at that opening?
Yes, she was.
She's very involved with your organization?
She is, and she's apart from her wonderful work as an actress known to everyone. She devotes a great deal of time and effort to causes of non-discrimination and prejudice. She has a wonderful family of many children from all sorts of unfortunate circumstances whom she's adopted, as well as having, of course, her own children. And she's doing some wonderful work, and she has been kind enough to be a very good supporter of our organization.
We talked about the exhibits. You have two basic exhibits, a large exhibit and a smaller one that can be used in smaller communities, I would assume. And they travel around the country? Is that the way it works?
Yes. We have a couple of versions of the large exhibit, which is called Anne Frank in the World, 1929.
We have a catalog of that,
yes.
which shows.
And that's an exhibit which has some 80-plus panels. It's fairly old at this point and a little bit cumbersome, but it's an outstanding vehicle that was essentially created by the Anne Frank House in Holland originally.
As I look through this and see the pictures in it, so that's what the exhibit is. It shows
that's the large exhibit. That's correct. And the smaller exhibit is one that's been developed by our center. It's called the Anne Frank Story. And a permanent version of that has been placed into our exhibit and educational center. But we also are going to be traveling at least two versions of that around, and they've been booked in various communities. It's more portable, but it basically has the same story with updated language and pictures and so forth.
You mentioned the fact that children are your audience, and certainly with a docent working with them, these docents take them through the exhibit and tell them about. You do a lot with children's programs.
Yes, we do, and this is probably the ultimate docent. The man on the right is Jack Pollock, who's the former chairman of our organization, my predecessor, whose footsteps I'll never fill, but he's a wonderful man, and he goes and spends a great deal of time at various exhibit sites as well as at our New York Center in talking to young children about the Holocaust and Anne Frank. He incidentally was at Bergen-Belsen with Anne Frank.
How do people react when they come in and see the exhibit?
I think it's different in different locales. In New York, of course, the Anne Frank story is fairly well known, I would say, and therefore it's a reinforcing mechanism and an expansion of some learning that's perhaps been taking place. But it's a very important message to people who haven't been closely involved with Jewish community, with the Holocaust story, and so forth. In many other areas of the U.S., we are especially targeting communities which have had incidents of racial violence, of bias-related violence of some sort, of acts of anti-Semitism, and so forth. And in many of those communities, the story of Anne Frank isn't well known, isn't known at all in many instances. And the Holocaust, forgetting the occasional denial situation, the Holocaust story is not well known or understood. And in those communities, we have such a profound impact, and it so galvanizes the community into understanding the evils that can be created by modest acts
I want to talk about that subject and how children react to it. But first, I do want to remind our viewers that we're talking today about the Anne Frank Center, which has its offices and exhibition in Soho in New York, and my guest today is Leo Ullman, who is the chairman of the Anne Frank Center. You talk about galvanizing people who are aware of Anne Frank or not even aware of the existence of Anne Frank. Galvanize how? What is it that appeals to them What is the essence of the Anne Frank story that reaches people?
Well, I think, first of all, it's generally more or less required in order to get involved that people read the diary. And the diary is a wonderful piece of literature. It's a short read, but it is wonderful in itself as a piece of work by a very young, precocious,
why is it wonderful?
Brilliant.
Because
she expresses such enormous feelings so effectively and so concisely, and expresses things that young people feel and couldn't perhaps have put into word, and certainly not into writing. So the first part of it, I think, is that it introduces or reintroduces the diary. The second part of it is that in many of these communities, you have various cores of religious groups, of social activist groups who are aware of concepts of anti-discrimination but don't know how to deal with it effectively. And this is a very concrete and very effective and very touching and easily consumable story and message that people can relate to and talk about and have feelings about and talk openly about where they've never had that opportunity. And
it becomes a focal point, actually.
Absolutely. Anti-discrimination is a very broad and general subject, of course. This relates it to a specific instance that people can now identify with, understand, appreciate, and hopefully deal with through seminars and group colloquiums that are created in the context of one of these exhibits. And it really gets so many people involved, you would just be amazed. It becomes an honor locally to be involved. I've been at a couple of these openings, and everybody's just so excited to be involved with the opportunity to tell the story and to create a meaning.
Is the exhibit in New York create that same feeling?
I believe so, and I think with the help of a docent taking somebody through, it becomes so much more meaningful.
What might one expect if one would go to the exhibit in New York? What to see? Just give me some idea of what it consists of.
Well, it consists physically of 18 panels, each of which have some photographs and each of which tell a story, not only of Anne, but of the Holocaust and of the war surrounding it. But basically Anne's, more or less when Anne's life ended. What we haven't yet done is fully integrated that with now what, and what should we take home from that? And that's, of course, what they have to work on individually and what we have to work on. But in addition to the exhibit itself, you'll see in this picture a computer station, and we have certain interactive products that are there and will greatly enhance this exhibit. One is a CD-ROM product called the Diary Maker, which has been produced by Scholastic Inc. And we have had the pleasure of doing the Anne Frank, of contributing to the Anne Frank portion of the Diary Maker. So you could call up the Anne Frank story on that CD-ROM and see a tremendous amount of history.
As I've done, because I've read the material, you're also on the Internet, on the World Wide Web.
Yes.
And your Internet address is very simple, Anne Frank, one word, .com, C-O-M.
Yes.
And I've done that, and there's a lot of interesting information there. Talk about information.
And we're adding to that website, of course, almost daily. It is very important for us because we believe that ultimately we will reach so many more people through those kind of media than we do through a traveling exhibit.
What we want to do is to give the telephone number that people can call to get information about the hours. The exact location in Soho is what?
It's 584 Broadway, which is just south of Houston Street.
Right.
Our telephone number is 212, New York City, 431-7993.
Would you just repeat that now?
Yes, 212-431-7993.
And we will put that up in the closing credits, so if people did not write it down at the moment when you said it, they can pick it up at the end of the program.
Thank you very much.
You've got something coming up in October that's quite exciting, and I think we should get into that. Well, let's talk about it. It's going to be at Alice Tully Hall.
Yes, on October 28th, we are having a gala event for the benefit of our center, at which we will award the first Spirit of Anne Frank Awards. We have felt that this was an extremely important thing to do, to honor students, teachers, adults, community leaders and business leaders who have contributed in a special way to the fight against intolerance, injustice, anti-Semitism, in the spirit of Anne Frank. The awards will be given that evening. The principal award will presumably be given to a fairly well-known person. Others will be normal people who've done something extraordinary. There will also be, during that evening, a presentation by people such as Miep Gies. We will have a well-known keynote speaker. And there will be a musical performance of a song cycle from Yours, Anne, which was a musical created some years ago with the Anne Frank story. And that will be done by the wonderful, primarily cabaret singer Andrea Marcovici, who will be in New York at that time.
And as viewers, regular viewers of this program know, I am a great cabaret fan, and I certainly know her work and know that she is just a wonderful, wonderful performer, and I think that is a great opportunity. And of course, people can find out more information about that benefit by calling the number that you gave. So there's a lot of information to be gotten there. What I would like to get into a little bit with you is, this is a great fight. This is a great war against prejudice, intolerance. Are we winning?
I hope so. I honestly do believe that we are winning that, because what we have with us today that we didn't previously have is access to so many people, so many more people with our products. And it's not just our organization, to be sure. We think we're uniquely positioned to deal with young people on an educational kind of program, but there are many others. And I think, as you mentioned, the website and other
CD-ROM.
Yes.
There was it an Emmy award-winning?
It actually won the Oscar. Anne Frank Remembered film by John Blair. That's in our educational portfolio. And John Blair will be there that evening also on the 28th of October. That film is another, it will be released in video form at some point. It's traveled now through most of the major cities in the U.S.
The reason I ask, are we winning, is here's an organization that's been in existence since 1977. You devote, I'm sure, a lot of time from your busy law practice as chairman. I'm sure you were involved before that. Do you see results of your effort? Do you see anything that says to you, we're making progress, we're going ahead, we got to keep at it?
I absolutely do. I see it just in the number of people we are reaching, which is so many more than we were ever able to reach. I see it with the new products that we are creating to teach the story more effectively. And I see it in the results that we get in the way of feedback. We get enormous numbers of letters and responses from young people who have been touched. And I think we are touching more and more people through these new media and so forth.
And I keep hearing throughout this discussion, young people, young people. That's the area that you think
absolutely
requires the way to go.
Yes, because we have to get to people early in the educational process. It's very, very important. And we see our function and our work as being largely educational.
What kind of reaction do kids have when they're there? We saw a picture of kids, and of course, kids are interested in new things. Kids relate to other kids, of course, that's important. What happens? Do you see a turnaround? Do you see something happening there? Do you see a light bulb going on over there?
Absolutely. And it can be in different contexts, but what has amazed me, and this is speaking personally about what I've seen and the reactions I've gotten from people when I've been involved with the exhibit. You'll get notes and letters from young Hispanic children, from young black children, from young minority children who relate the Anne Frank story to their own lives or to the lives of people that they know. And that translation is perhaps the most important thing that we're doing. They see that they have faced instances that were very important, and now they feel better about dealing with them or knowing how to deal with them and the importance of dealing with them. And those are wonderful letters, and there are many of such responses.
Well, I certainly am so grateful that you came here today and told us about the Anne Frank Center and the wonderful work that you're doing, and I encourage people to come and visit your center and find out more about it. My guest today is Leo Ullman, who is the chairman of the Anne Frank Center located in Soho. They do wonderful work in fighting prejudice and discrimination and have a great exhibit. Go see it. I'm Norman Liss. The name of this program is The Way to Go, and until next time, enjoy yourself.